and thank you for joining us in today's webinar on discovering new hiring tools for mining hidden talent. I'm Savita, People Matters, and before we begin with today's webinar, I'd like to give you a brief about the India Hiring Outlook Week 2015 we are in, which is a special initiative especially for recruitment industry to take an in-depth look into how market forces that will shape the year's hiring landscape. The India Hiring Week has been packed with a number of online activities where experts spread across 5 days. We have these videos, interviews, webinars, newsletters, and tweet chats. For more details, I would request you to please visit our India Hiring Outlook Week page on www.peoplematters.in/IHO. In today's webinar, you will get to know a lot about the evolution of hiring strategies to accommodate new hiring tools, their usability, their efficiency, and how successfully hiring with social hiring tools happens. Is it right to hire, and judging the right hire is all done socially. We have the privilege of having with us Prithvi Shergill, Chief Human Resource Officer at HCL Technologies. In his role as CHRO, Prithvi is steward of HCL's Employee First initiative and ensures that the policies, programs, processes, and practices enable employees to join, learn, perform, collaborate, and grow their diverse contributions and capabilities, thus increasing the value zone created each time they interact and with clients. Our partner webinar for helping us make this possible is Monster India. Monster India is India's leading online career and recruitment resource with its cutting-edge technology that provides relevant profiles to employers and relevant jobs to job seekers across industry verticals, experience levels, and geographies. Today, with operations in more than 40 countries, Monster provides the widest and the most sophisticated job-seeking career management, recruitment, and talent management capabilities globally. In 2000, Monster Empower Search was voted Product of the Year under the Online Job Portals category in the survey of 18,000 people. We have for you to ask your questions at the end of the webinar. For those watching the webinar live, please feel free to submit your questions at any point during the presentation through the Q&A section, which is on the right-hand side corner of your screen. We'll try and respond to as many questions as time allows. We have a full exciting agenda for the webinar today. So without any further delay, I'm going to hand over the microphone to Prithvi. Over to you, Prithvi.
Thank you so much. Thank you all for joining. It's an interesting time in our markets where most of the conversations stem around whether we can fulfill the demand that continues to be very volatile and continuing to grow. And when you speak to people, I'm sure some of the conversations that many of you who joined are having really relate to, can you find the right kind of hires that you're looking for? There are a lot of people, and we keep talking about the demographic dividend in India, but where are these sources? And one of the things we've seen, there's clearly, from the days that newspaper advertisements used to be adequate, today technology and the internet has really taken us a space which we all need to understand very well and see how we can use social networks and social media much more effectively to find these candidates and talent we're looking for. The second look, we realized very quickly as you get a space of talent acquisition is that you hang out in the places where your talent is hanging out. And that's really, if you ask anybody today, do you have a LinkedIn account? Do you have a Facebook account? Do you use Twitter? More often than not, the answer will be a resounding yes. We clearly see there is a need to be very present, people to understand your brand, understand your reputation, in these virtual platforms so that you can attract and increase the consideration of people who are visiting there and who are there with you. The thing we are seeing is clearly related to recruiting is becoming more and more of a balance between an art and a science. And the buzzword of using analytics, recruiting plays as a great example and plays right into that space. If you look at some of the outcomes you look for, whether it's quality of hire, which most people look for, almost 44% people based on some research by LinkedIn talks about time to fill, hiring manager satisfaction. These are all outcomes which are best given if you understand what is happening in your market with your candidates or with your pipeline, where are they spending time, and these are data and metrics that any professional recruiting organization in the coming years will have to become much more comfortable collecting and using. If I go on, clearly, as I said, with the sources changing, you need to understand what are these social professional networks available becomes critical. The interesting part is that they have grown all in popularity and in usage almost by over 73% over the last 4 years. And I think not just the usage, but also the number of sites that emerge and take root and come. And so it's important to know that landscape very well. All of us, if you are in this space of recruiting, will be using internet job boards where we're seeing, where we believe most of the direct hiring happens. The importance of your company career site is next, because that's really your face to the market. People go there, visit there. Your ability to build internally and make sure that you grow in people internally, as well as employee referral becomes important, as well as, of course, the networks that I've been talking about. But we talked about Monster supporting the study, but they're really one of the leading job boards that one can use as you look as to where to hire from next in the coming year. What has happened with social media? There are some, earlier, if you go back a few years, talking about a social media strategist as a job was something which would not, you would look at the person a little weirdly and say, God knows what he's talking about. But today, to have a person responsible and accountable for social media strategy in your talent acquisition team becomes very, very important. If you just take LinkedIn as an example, with more than 300 million people registered there, the ability to parse that information, understand which keywords to look for, how do you find candidates who will be interested in you, but more importantly, you are interested in, needs attention to people, the person who can know how to measure, define, listen, engage with that community. We're also seeing Facebook. I believe Facebook really still is making transition from more of a personal network to being used as a professional network. But we do see, more and more Facebook groups, especially if you have a Facebook page for your company, being a great source, because with Facebook's aspirations to almost have the entire world be connected, there is no way you can find talent unless you are there and your page is being visited by the people who are using Facebook. Twitter, of course, is something which we have used at HCL quite innovatively, and I'll talk about that a little later. But that's another interesting way to at least get a quick reach out to job seekers, make sure that there's key headlines about your company and there's an ability to increase awareness. The key is that from a social media perspective, if you move on, is really to make sure that your social media strategist or your team that is looking after social media, of course, given how important it's become, focuses on 3 or 4 things. One is, of course, the base platform. Which platform do you want to be on? How do you want to Google Plus? How is that evolving? How do you want to use Instagram? How do you want to use Facebook? What is the messages that you want to use across these platforms? Is the next area of priority you need to give in terms of work to be done. The content that you need to be there, go on, has to be something that is relevant, attractive, and is something that resonates with the audience that is visiting there. Make sure that your own community, your own company are well trained and empowered to actually help you get your message out. Because if you take a company like ours, where we have about 100,000 employees in 31 countries, if we can share with our own employees what is the message we want to get out, they are the best ambassadors, because each of our employees will have their own networks, each of the platforms that I talked about. And there is nothing more powerful than a testimonial from somebody who you trust talking about the reputation about an organization. And last but not the least, the deck that I'm sharing, I'm sure looks very sexy and very cool. But really, the ability to execute on this by using a strong technology team, using a strong recruiting team, and making sure that they both talk to each other. Because using social media is not just about using technology or just doing recruiting, but really both need to come together so you can really bridge the insight that the information these platforms give you. And translating this information into insight really is where the intersection between good recruiter and good technologist comes together in the role of managing social media as a strategy in your recruitment plans forward. What makes, why are these so usable and efficient? I'm not going to spend too much time here, but if you look at what some of the most popular platforms are doing, let's take LinkedIn as an example. LinkedIn, we track our talent brand index regularly on LinkedIn, and over the last year we've seen us go up in India to number 4 in our industry as they look at organizations on their side. That gives us a very rich insight as to how is our message being received, and is it really engaging candidates? To find a talent pool of 300 million people in a single place makes it a great pond, to say, more like an ocean fishing. Your ability to use filters and find people with certain kinds of experiences, certain kinds of companies, it becomes much easier. So your ability to qualify candidates becomes easier, and LinkedIn is investing significantly to make that even better in working with organizations who use them actively. We believe that we are seeing, at least, and what I talk to my colleagues in the industry in terms of the number of job applications and how you can direct traffic to your career page is significant. The reporting capabilities, the internal email analytics, as I was telling you earlier about being able to convert talent acquisition into an art and a science, and use analytics to drive behavior and where you want to focus, because I think the tools has a significant ability to get reports and then insights that you can use. Moving to the other end, I look at Facebook, which is today the second most trafficked website only after Google. And I'm not sure if Facebook will agree, but the reality is that both of these sites, Google and Facebook, are becoming more and more places where you find your candidates sooner than you will find them anywhere else. And just the usability that there is there in being able to create your own career page, to create a group of people where you can direct traffic to, so that they understand who you are, what you do, what jobs are available. I think it's like the most visited shop in a mall. If that's where you're going to find your customers, in the same fashion, you need to be in the most visited place on our virtual world as well. Again, some of the tools that are very popular in terms of sharing information and sharing a post or putting a like Facebook will enable you to understand where your messages are going, or who are they being directed to or redirected to, and are people really responding to them. Twitter is a more direct, is a great platform which can make job postings stand out and can lead to a call to action very quickly, because people can hashtag your company name and send you a message right back if they like what they see. So it's important to build a following there as well. Direct people from Twitter to your career page, or direct them to write into you directly. Make sure that they like what they read, and so they retweet and expand their audience. One of the I really feel, we keep talking about word of mouth the old days. I think that has been now exponentially multiplied, because with the use of social tools, you can really reach out to many, many more people. Let me move and really say, how do you actively use these? And there are various techniques that Dean has educated me on about how social media can really be leveraged in a smart fashion. I've been talking about how important it is to put the right content there, so that people understand what job available and what they need to actually fill up to be able to put in an application. We need to make sure that the number of fields in our job posts are simple, straightforward, and we're not trying to collect the whole life story about people we go. We can make sure we can tag people and so that other co-workers know to which domain these candidates belong, and tag the candidates so that your colleagues who are looking through the talent database know that here are the individuals who are into my job that I'm looking for. We can create groups which so that people are updated about the kind of technologies that they take and kind of work you do. At the end of the day, the candidate joins for reputation, work, value proposition you offer. And by being a more targeted group, you can respond to their queries, or people who have interest can be brought together. We need to make sure that we can provide alerts, we can provide, we can add sources to a clipboard so that we can reach the candidate easier. And I think there's a whole host of developed by media that enable the recruiter to do their job better. I think both connecting with the candidate, as well as tools like tags, alerts, clipboards, comments, being able to do your searches, which can help the recruiter recontact the candidate group or the candidate specifically based on what the job it is. The key, though, is it's not just about volume. And I'm a big believer that we really need to be able to sharpen our focus for our recruiting organization team to make sure that they are judging the hire. And that's really by making sure that the way jobs are posted, the way a job has the right information.
We have had Prithvi talk about what have been the hiring tools that one can use. He's also spoken about the top sources for hiring that has been the trend so far. He has shared his views on the evolution of hiring strategies to create new hiring tools. What has been this scenario? I think we join back once again.
So I was thinking about importance of checking credentials, and I think with social media now available, forces to do that becomes much easier to make sure that you're making some terrible mistake. we need to, as you know, really read between the lines when looking at people's resumes, biographs, LinkedIn pages, posts. What is their real approach to things that they're talking about? Is it in line with what you think is what you're looking for? And one needs to make that extra effort. The importance of making sure that the candidate that you're hiring fits in with your culture in terms of beliefs and behaviors, I think today with the availability of social media becomes much easier because your understanding of a candidate now is not just from the interview or from a resume, but from you have access to information that sometimes the candidate doesn't want to share, which is why from a data privacy perspective, before one goes in and starts doing research on a candidate on all sorts of social media sites, it's very important to be very transparent and honest with candidates that if that's what you're going to do and that's what you're going to invest in. And I cannot under that adequately as important to do. What's worked for HCL? You know, we hire a significant number of people every year. You know, we crossed 100,000 employees recently, and every month we are hiring a significant number of individuals from all sorts of places. What's worked for us is really we respond to the workforce that we have. We have, you know, our average age is around 27. People like to have fun at work, and we've made a lot of our ability to engage with HCL through contests, through games, an ability to understand who HCL is. We've started using more and more of gamification in the way we present our story. We make sure that our recruiters are well trained. If a recruiter has not completed the required training on how to use a technology platform or social media, he is not allowed to continue. His access is revoked until that individual's training is done. Make sure that we have the right amount of the profiles that recruiters are using on their public sites will help people respond and increase your response rate. The kinds of language we use in our email communication, that becomes important so that it reflects your culture, reflects the kind of courtesy, reflects the character of who you are as an organization. If your emails are rude, brusque, most probably the organization has that same orientation. If the emails are written, people respond to language. And last but not the least, it's important to make sure that recruiters get together, learn from each other. More importantly, just the recruiters, bring your partners in, bring your social media partners in, bring your digital partners in, bring your recruiting search firms in, because the ecosystem of recruiting or the talent acquisition is changing, and I think we can all learn from each other. We continue to try and see how we can enhance the number of how we go social, whether it's social referrals, really try to break through the clutter, making it easy to apply to us, how creating groups on social platform, recruiters to engage with people on directly, enhancing our referral process to see so that it makes it really easy for employees. And this is all work in progress. In some places, we find that experiments work. In some places, we are learning that what we've tried doesn't work, and we need to do something differently. But the important part in recruiting, and my belief, is to really what is inherent to our culture, which is to encourage your recruiter, your HR professional, your hiring manager to seed, nurture, and really experiment ideas. Because I think we are at a cusp at the moment, and as we go accelerate into 2015, there is an opportunity to really refine how we are recruiting using some of the new platforms that are there. One of the things that worked really well for us have been around using video job descriptions. So we've converted a lot of, everybody sees a written job description on the site, and we really said that let's create a collateral which is fun to watch, and really have people who view it forward video to many other friends of theirs who maybe like them, and who we may want to talk to. We utilize all other channels to push people to sort of view these videos and really use this creativity to create an different and distinctive hiring message. Since the campaign that we did was called Hire Videos, we saw about 175 million impressions with about 300,000 plus people watching the video, and received almost 11,500 applications, which, in my view, hopefully we will continue to position as being maybe one of the only companies to use video job descriptions on a regular basis. And really this builds on our belief in innovation, not just as in recruiting, but in innovation as an organization. So far, you to receive significant number of, the number of applications and impressions we continue to organically see from this continues to grow. And I'm quite pleased to see where we are. And some of you may have heard about the coolest thing to ever campaign we ran, which really around taking our message across almost 32 countries that we had to. How do you do it in a smart fashion? We wanted to make sure that we go off digital channels, reach large volume of people, and we all, we running this campaign really at a cost which was marginal compared to what our average cost is, really helped position HCL as a big company that we are for the new set of workforce that is coming in, and made us number one in reaching and engaging, especially on Twitter, which we used as a platform to really run this campaign. Our followed up by 25,000 people on Twitter just in 2 months, and compares an 83% increase over the last 10 months. And I think that those are all outcomes that we ourselves underestimated. So the power of what we're seeing using video, using Twitter, being very active on social media clearly is the way to go. Just to wrap up this discussion, in terms of the key message, I would say is, where is candidate today? Where is he hanging out? And are you there well? And are you there using language, sharing information that is relevant to them? And if you are there, then you need to have a very clear social recruiting strategy. You need to have somebody invest in that. You need to make sure that as a leadership team, people who are driving this, you yourself are stewarding this change, because I think this is what the future is going to be. Let me there and hand back to Savita and for questions that I'm happy to take. Hopefully this has been of use to you, and I look forward to continue our dialogue.
Thanks, Prithvi. So, we have had 2 questions in the interim so far for your presentation. So one of them goes from Jonas, which is, while hiring technical resources, are you still using these resumes to validate technical knowledge, or have you explored technical communities to identify superior candidates?
I think knowledge and skills can on a resume, and you do need to verify that. So yes, we are participating, we are present, we are encouraging our recruiters to join technical communities online. whether that's on Google, whether that's on Facebook, whether it's on LinkedIn, really to participate, engage. Even on our HCL presence, you will find information on technology, on the kind of work we do. We believe if we get the right information and if we participate in the dialogue going on online, you will find people with right technical skills. But in terms of verifying, is that what they claim to have, is it really to the level that you need for that role? For that, at the end of the day, there is nothing like an actual physical interaction. It doesn't have to be face-to-face, but you do need to have a live interaction and can't really just trust what you see online.
Thanks. The next question is from Kashif, and he would like to know how do you see this working out for a mid-sized organization such as his? His organization is under 800 employees. So how do you see this working for them?
I actually see even more effective for your organization than I would say just for large organizations, because you have a small HR organization. Maybe you've got the people in HR and recruiting doing the job together as a combined role, and you need to be more targeted. You need to make sure you're not just spending all your time processing resumes after resume and finding the yield very low. You want to increase the norm, the yield that you are seeing from anywhere from 6 to 12% that companies see today to be higher. And I think social media actually can do that very well for you if you're very clear about what your organization is looking for, if you find the right communities to share that information in, and your message is strong to attract people from there to talk to you. I think you can, as a medium-sized organization, if you can increase the dialogue with the kind of candidates you need, your support in actually recruiting them will increase as well.
Thank you, Prithvi. Would you like more questions now, or would you want to continue with your presentation? We have a few more questions that have come up.
No, I think let's take the questions.
So we have another question from Vivek. He says, it appears that he's from HCL, but his question goes, because of the past few successful campaigns like the cool interview that you have had on Twitter, we are your shape with 300,000 followers or so. Should you launch a HCL job page on Twitter for India and the US market? Should that be the case?
So I think decision about when to expand your footprint on media needs to be seen in the context of what is the kind of demand that you are seeing. What is your presence that you have currently? Have you maximized the footfall traffic on the pages that you already have? It's like if you create a single house, everybody will come to that house. If you have 10 houses, how does anybody know where to find you? So be careful of spreading yourself too thin in any site, in any page, in any platform. We need to be, in my view, it is very easy to sort of say, let's do this also, that also. But from each organization needs to do this in a targeted fashion. Make sure they optimize what they're doing, and then say, is this adequate for me? Do I need to expand further or not? For HCL specifically, I understand we already have a career page as well as geographic specific groups, etc. So I think we find that was important for us, but it doesn't mean the same answer for everybody.
Right. The next question is from Madhuri, and she wants to know how clipboards will help them searching for right resource with right technical skills.
So, that question?
How clipboards will help searching for right resources with right technical skills. You mentioned about clipboards in one of your slides.
Right. So if you look at candidate, if you run to If you go to a site today and you run onto a candidate resume, you may not need it right away. You may want to. It may be of interest. Maybe there's no fit right away. So it's important to make sure you rec on a clipboard. You add that resource to clipboard, and so that you can go back and reach them when appropriate. The internet also or any virtual platform is also that there is lots of people out there. There is lots of information out there. So to be able to ensure you don't lose. I don't remember where I found this, or I don't remember where I saw his resume, or where I saw this person. These sort of things by using clipboards, you can use it can make your job easier.
Thank you, Prithvi, for this one. We have a question from Ajay. Ajay wants to know, social strategies brings challenges to filter big data. How does one deal with that?
I think you decide how invested you are in using technology. Today with the amount of data available, creating a data warehouse, ensuring that the right efforts are being put in to use that data warehouse to filter the information in there, I think is very important. So the availability of data is an opportunity. The need to use it, you have to invest in technology to believe that you can do it without a good technology platform, maybe being over optimistic. So there has to be some level of readiness to invest in this. Now, the ability to invest changes depending on the size and scale of your organization, which is why sometimes for using data, it's important to partner very closely with your marketing organization, with your IT organization, with your sales organization, because they may have similar needs. They may need to use information available on online communities and platforms as well. So it's an opportunity to partner with other functions and see what you can do together, rather than saying, recruiting or HR has to have their own technology. Is not really always the answer. So to really make the most of big data, you have to invest in technology and make sure it's done in a manner which gives you the returns that you're looking for.
There's a follow-up question with Ajay. So what do you think is the role of a recruiter in today's changing world? And is there any change in the recruiter's competencies required?
I was talking to my team just 2 days ago. If people, it is. Let me give a couple of answers to that. In the old days, if you were in the mining industry, we used to go down when the miner used to go down, he used to carry a canary in a cage with him. And as he went down, canary down, and if the oxygen in the mine started to get low, it became dangerous to be there, you could make out because the canary would faint or die. And I think today is that early warning system for our organization. Today can tell, is an organization growing, is an organization successful, are actually seeing what is happening in the recruiting space for the organization. And that makes the recruiter's role critical, because he is essentially representing what organization's reputation and market position much beyond the talent. If there is no recruiter and the recruiter is not bringing in people to join the organization, then there is no organization. It's as simple as that. In my mind, we need to redefine what is a recruiter. A recruiter is not just a person who carries that tag. I think we see the community of recruiters as every employee, every person in HR, and then of course individuals who are specializing in that as well. Because each of us, I think, has a role to recruit. So I cannot overemphasize the importance of the role of recruiting in today's world. And I think it's not just today's world. I think it's always been so. I think in a country like ours, especially, I think today recruiting is a space which, I call our recruiting team the rock stars of our organization, because they're really the ones who make things happen by bringing in people, making sure we have the right capability. What are the skills that a recruiter needs for tomorrow? I think the recruiter has to move on from thinking that he can do everything, that he can also source, he can also analyze data, he can also sell to the candidate, he can also make the right compensation offer. I think the days in recruiting are coming where one needs to specialize further. Because you in-depth skills in each of the disciplines of recruiting, each of the stages of recruiting. So there is a growing specialization in the discipline. Are you a good sourcer? Are you a good processor? Are you good at managing operations? Are you good at vendor management? Are you good at partner management? Are you good at recruitment marketing? Are you good at analytics? All these disciplines in recruiting today are career paths for the future. I think you could sort of do a little bit of everything and be considered a good recruiter. And today also, I think, depending on the scale at which you're operating, you should structure it that way. But I think for the recruiter tomorrow, he needs to deepen his skills in each of these sub-disciplines and really see himself much more as a salesperson, if I can say that, a marketing person, rather than as a recruiter. And I think that's the tone and tenor that would look for in people as we look to add recruiters in any growing organization.
We have another question from Chinmay. The question reads: how advise recruiters to manage their time on a daily schedule for working on social media and building up their pipeline? For as we know that it takes time. So how do you advise them?
Yeah. So I would say don't spend too much time on social media. So I would actually say it's very, very dangerous to believe that as a recruiter my job is to just hang out on LinkedIn or just to hang out on Facebook and interact with candidates. I think it's very important to manage your day well. Yes, there is a certain number of hours you need to invest in managing your profile, making sure you're reaching out to candidates, posting information for the groups that you manage, ensuring the jobs that you posted are sharp and defined and clear, ensuring that the language that is being used in interaction with candidates for responding is right. But you need to spend equally amount of time looking at 2-3 other things, which is one is around, are you interacting with your hiring managers? Do you know what the right selling messages are? Are you really speaking face to face with candidates? Are you meeting candidates physically and not just virtually? Because that's really where you really test and convert passive candidates by actually talking to them, meeting them physically or over video. You spend time there. Third, you need to spend time with data. How is your pipeline looking? Is there enough pipe in the funnel? Is there enough talent in the funnel? Have I got the right number of resumes to be screened? Am I being short on any skills? Which skills are niche? Have I got the right compensation? All that requires time and energy. So one does need to carve out the day a little smartly and make sure that you spend time for each of this and whatever is a fair distribution for you, rather than spend all your time on social media. So a little contrary to what I spent my hour, 40 minutes presenting, that it is important to find that balance. Otherwise, you can't do the job that is expected of you as a recruiter.
The next question is from Gautam. So he would like to know how much impact does social hiring have in grabbing interest of candidates? Does that help?
Yes, absolutely. I would just reinforce that I shared. I think today if you are on Facebook and chatting with a friend, or you're on LinkedIn and looking at the posts and you see something about a company that is doing something different or using a technology that is of interest to you, or talking about clients that they work with who is doing some exciting work, you're going to be attracted. You're going to be going there and looking and seeking more information. So it is very important, because the eyeballs are on these platforms, that you are there with the right sort of presentation as well. And once the awareness increases, the next step is really to get that individual to transition being aware about something to actually consider the opportunity that you're offering. And that's really the role that we believe social media plays, really taking a person who doesn't know about you to a person who knows lots about you, to being a candidate who wants to consider you actively.
Thanks, Prithvi. Ajit here has a question. So, how to make a good strategy to meet new challenges in HR partners? For example, consultants, citing the fact that we have social hiring in place. So, how do you make good strategies to meet the new challenges with an HR partner?
Sorry, as an HR partner being, I'm not sure that you.
Ajit refers to HR partner as a consultant.
So given you have a social strategy, HR strategy, how do you use that to better consultants as an HR partner, or be a better partner? Yeah.
Yes.
I think it's about social listening. If you go to talk to your hiring manager today, he wants to know what's happening in competition. He wants to know, where is talent going. He wants to know which skills are hot, which are not. To be able to give advisory services or hiring managers, you need to know that. And for that, you need to be very active on social platforms, because that's where you can get that insight from. So I think, to be a better HR partner, really it's about being able to give better advice and be able to ensure that problems and challenges that your business stakeholders are facing, you can address them. And for that, if you can be somebody who has sight, who has the information that people want to know, and you can source that from interactions on social platforms, I think you can be a better HR partner. Is that the question?
Thanks, Prithvi. Another question. With everybody switching to social media, how is it that you see the traditional roles of recruiting looking at? Maybe the different ways that we traditionally recruit. How is that going to change? How is that scenario going to change?
Goes back to what I was saying earlier. I think you're going to have new teams emerge. You're going to have new roles emerge. You're going to need a person who is somebody who you're going to see the importance of social strategy emerge, social media content experts. You're going to see roles around experience. You're going to see roles on community managers, online community managers. You're going to see content managers. You see people who look at recruiting analytics. These are all roles and jobs which I think today we don't see. I believe 65% of the jobs that will be there in 2020 are not seen today, and possibly the same amount in recruiting. Many of these roles that I just described today, we don't invest in. The whole management piece, the partner management piece. How do you increase yield? How do you grow up to be more productive? So that whole role is played in, I think, in a very immature fashion. I think there's still lots of potential to do all this work that I just described in a sharper, more skilled manner with deeper expertise. And I think those are the kinds of roles that you're going to see in the recruiting profession in future.
Thanks, Prithvi. Looking at the time, I think we still can take one more question. So this question is from Praveen, and I understand from his question reads, how do we overcome challenges wherein with small organizations, wherein while using platforms like these, usually candidates tend to drift towards larger brands and larger organizations and hesitate to work with small ones. So how does one work with this?
I think it's not smaller. I think it's about what is resonating and finding the profiling kind of candidates who'd be interested to work in a company like yours, doing what you are offering. So there's one challenge around profiling. Once you've done the right profile, then finding where those profiles are using on the social platforms, that I think becomes easier. But if you don't spend the time defining the job and defining what the profile will fit that job, you will be shooting in the dark. The second thing I'd like to just say is that I think the day of people looking at scale and size as being the only facets of a good employer are long gone. I think we are seeing that employees are very excited about joining startups. They find working in smaller teams much more meaningful because they can have more impact. They can have a larger make a larger contribution. We see HCL today, even though we have 100,000 people in 31 countries, we see ourselves possibly as the world's largest startup. Because we create a culture where people can work in small teams with a specific set of clients, do great work, have a sense of freedom to ideate decisions, take actions. And those are things that are restricted to a small or a large company, but restricted to the kind of culture you want to create. So I would say it's more important to make sure that the culture you have in your company is reflected in social media, reflected in your communication, so that people who are the right profile that you are looking for to do the job that you want are attracted to you, and you talk to them, hire them, and make them productive and have great careers with you.
Last question before we close. So, in this entire gamut of social hiring, what is the investment as per you that is required? A research team, a team that absolutely sits on it all through, or guided? How do you think the investment should be?
I think the investment vary based on what you want to accomplish, what stage you're at. If you're in the early stages of making this a larger proportion of your hiring mix, you should possibly overinvest. Again, it depends on your budgets, your scale of organization, etc. But we believe that your hiring, if you look at your sourcing budget, you should disproportionately invest. You should disproportionately invest here, because I think it actually in the long run increases your returns and makes your cost of hiring more optimal. So I think it depends on what stage of you are in going down this path. If you're early on, invest more, and then over a period of time, I think you will find that will balance out. It's not actually become significantly better returns than you expected.
And with this question and answer session, we may have to wrap up today's session. We still have many questions unanswered. I would request we could definitely have them taken offline if we could. Once again, we would like to thank our webinar partner, Monster.com, and finally, a special thanks to Prithvi, the speaker for this webinar, for his time and invaluable information that you've shared with me today. Thank you so much, and I'd like to also thank the audience for participating in today's session.
If anybody would like to tweet me their questions, they can do so at the #ShergillPrithvi.
Thank you so much. We are going to come back with many such more. This concludes the India Hiring Outlook Week 2015, and we are concluding the webcast today. Thank you and have a great weekend. Thank you.